Hello guys, this is James. Today we're going to talk about a concept, margin collapsing. Before we approach that, let's just try to have a very simple HTML file. And I just first create one div, and inside the div there's a h1 tag, and then there's something words like welcome. Let's see what will happen. And also in the style CSS, we just define a background color to distinguish just between this and the background, the white background color of the whole page. And then if we do something like this, yes, we have comments, the other things already. And let's just focus on this one and let's see what will happen on the page. Yeah, is that what you expected? Well, actually, we can see that the welcome, because since it's like a block element, it will occupy the whole row or the width of the screen. And also since we have set the background color, so all it has a stripe of the color we have set. And something I have to say, why there's something like this, a gutter really appears between this welcome and the top of the browser. The reason is because even we don't set any things like margin, but there are some preset attributes because right we set the h1. Really have a let's check here, so it will be clearer. It really have a preset margin start and margin end with 0.67 EM. So what does the EM mean? EM means that it inherits the size from the parent tag. And since the parent, I think, is the HTML, by default, the EM equals to 16 pixels. And then we can see that 16 times 2, because the font size of H1 is 2 EM. First, we have 2 times 2 multiplied by 2, and then we times 0.67. Then we get exactly the margin should be like this big. And then it really only applies to the top and the bottom margin. So we can see that's what happened. And then goes to our topic today, the margin collapsing. If here we set something like this, we define another div and also wrapping a p element here. So what do we get about? Just be mindful that P also have sort of its preset margin top and margin bottom. And it actually is 16 pixels. If we just set it like with the preset value, 1 EM is 16. So will the two just, have a wider space, the margin of this one, the bottom margin of this one, and plus the bottom margin of this P. So it will be the gutters between the two tags, or something else will happen. Okay, to make it clear, let's just directly check the result. And to distinguish things, I just also have set a background color here. All right, then obviously there should be some gutters here. And then let's see exactly the size of it. Look, actually, we can see that it's still 21.44, exactly the same size of if we just only set the welcome, the first H1 tag. Why is like that? Because there's a collapsing of the margins. If we set different margins here and the P margin is only 16 and the H margin is 21.44, and the relations between the two tags, let's check it here. Actually, they are not like siblings. They are not like parents and children. They are even something like this, wrapped by different div here. But regardless of those kind of things, still there will be the phenomenon of margin collapsing. That is, the bigger margin will take the lead, and then the smaller margin will just be contained in the big margins, resulting something like this. Okay, now the second question is that sometimes we really don't want those kind of wrapping or collapsing. we just want the margin to perform separately. So how can we do that? In our practice on actual design, sometimes we really want something like that. There are various ways to achieve it, and I'll just give you the first way. Yes, let's enumerate. The first way is a tag. Here we have a father tag, or we can call it like a container. In the container, we just define something. So in the container, we should define class. We define a overflow. Hidden, it's okay. Auto is also okay. Let's see whatever happened here. Well, let's say actually the margin separate each other already, right? So that's like the magic of overflow. Okay, then let's go to the second way. The second way is to set a order or paddings. If we really set up paddings in the father tag, and then anything below, it will really be wrapped in the paddings or the borders. So it will not really have the collapsing with the other elements. So set it like let's see. All right, to make it more obvious, let's just come here. So this one is still like 21.4. That's exactly the margin of the H1. The container, as we said, we have a 0.5 em, aka 8 pixels. And then it's really wrapped everything, include the margin of the font inside. And then comes the second P here. It also have its own margin, right? So it will really not intervene with each other, the two tags. So that's the second way, okay. And then let's go to the third way. If it's not a P tag, it is some inline elements. And then it will really not have any padding or margin or things like this. Also, the collapsing can be eliminated. So let's just try to maybe set the H1 to be inline element. Let's see what will happen here. The container, we can already be an inline element. It doesn't have any paddings already. Let's just check here. It has 0. Even here, it shows there's margin here. If we set it as an inline element, even it shows that, okay, there's some margin here displayed, but it really doesn't really affect the layout of other elements. Let's see that it doesn't really occupy any space in the screen. Rather, the gutters between the two elements really all contribute by the next one. It's 16. So also, if we set 1 or even 2 tags, convert them from the block elements to the inline elements. Then if we set it an inline block, let's say, well, still the margin counts, as we see. All right, that's the third way. And the fourth way we can do it is we can set it as a flex. If the container is a flex, then the child of it will be a flex item. So here the container, we just set it as, so we don't have to set it as an inline box. So let's, all right, since it's a flex already, and we can notice the first thing that the yellow stripes really shortened because it has become an item. So it will really wrap wholly around the elements. It will not, by default, it will not really extend to the extreme of the width of the screen. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we have to really check if there's a collapsing of the margin. Actually, there's not, right? Because we can see here it has 21 point something here, and then we go to the next one here. To also have its 16, the two of them don't intervene with each other. Today we have tried 4 ways to deal with the margin collapsing things. And sometimes it's quite annoying because we really don't want it to collapse with each other, but to be mindful that anything, even if it's not a font, it is another thing. As long as it's a margin, it can, this can happen, the margin collapsing. And how to deal with it is like we have to, the majority of the things we should really do is to do something to the parent tag. And to the parent tag, we can add an overflow, we can add a padding, we can add a, make it a display, and then the automatically the item will become a flex item. That's the thing we can do, okay? And aside from it, if we don't want this method in the H1, that's which one, which has the margin, which doesn't want the collapsing, we can set it as a inline elements, not an inline block, because inline block we can still set the padding and borders, but with inline elements, then it will become invalid, those kind of settings of padding and margin. So that's what is the margin collapse and how we deal with it. So thank you for watching.